Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in today's presentation and webinar titled Managing or People Don't Quit Jobs, Transforming Morale and Culture. My name is Daniel Wada. I'm a program manager for PCV's business advising program. And we're joined here with one of our mentors in the business advising program, Jefferson McCarley. With over a decade of experience leading Bay Area manufacturing businesses and advising hundreds of small enterprises, Jefferson specializes in helping entrepreneurs navigate growth and complexity. He offers hands-on support in real estate, permitting, HR, inventory, compliance, financial literacy, and marketing. So whether it's scaling operations or solving day-to-day challenges, he brings practical, founder-tested solutions to move businesses forward. So if you have any questions throughout this session, feel free to just drop it in the chat and we'll have a dedicated section for Q&A after the presentation, but feel free to just type them in the chat at any point. And without further ado, I'll pass it over to you, Jefferson.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm really happy to be here. Just before we get started, a couple of points to make. Number one, this is an off-camera friendly workshop, so feel free to mute yourself and multitask. I just have one interactive request before you step away from your laptop. And that is, if you would, in the chat section, just drop the name of somebody that that's reported to you, a direct report, somebody that you've managed that has just been a star employee, somebody that is somebody you'd like to take with you every time you change jobs, that you would just love to work with them forever because they were so awesome. Just a first name. Could be somebody you're working with now, could be somebody you worked with at a previous job. Or you could just make up a name. And then I also want to give you the heads up that the deck will not be emailed to you. So have you ever been to one of those workshops where the presenter just reads the text on the screen and just reads the bullet points? It could have been an email. Or worse, they're talking about something completely different and you're supposed to read the text on the screen and sort of also listen to what they're saying, and then they flip to the next screen and you didn't quite finish. So this is not going to be that kind of workshop. There is going to be almost no text in my slides. I'm going to encourage you to take your own notes so you've got something custom that is specific to you. So open up a Word doc or a Google Doc, start a draft email, grab a spiral bound notebook, and get ready to take your own notes for your own action items or anything that you hear that might inspire you to do something a little bit differently. Okay, so let me jump in. We're gonna get started. I remember the first time I heard this expression, employees don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. So there's a couple different variations of this expression. Sometimes it's employees, sometimes it's people, sometimes it's bosses, sometimes it's managers, but the principle is the same. And it really resonated with me the first time I heard this. I did an exercise and I encourage you to try this. Go through your whole career, all the jobs that you've had, all the bosses that you've had, and look back and try to figure out which jobs have you left because you had a bad manager. For me, it was most of them. It was most, if I wasn't relocating from one city to another, the reason I left a job was kind of because I had a bad manager. Except for there was one situation where I thought, huh, I'm not sure about this one, because my manager, my boss, I just loved her. She was so awesome. She was funny. I had so much respect for her. She was so smart. She was just the best in her industry. And she was just a pleasure to be around. She gave me autonomy. I really enjoyed working with her, but I left that job and I thought, well, did I really leave that job because of her? I left that job because there was a really toxic work environment. Um, it was just like every department was kind of pitted against each other, trying to catch each other. Um, it was like a war zone. And specifically every week we had a cross-functional meeting. My boss would sit at the head of the table, and everybody, every department was represented, and the marketing team would just attack sales, and sales would attack retail, and retail would question production, and production would point fingers at, it was just chaos. It was so ugly, and it bleeded into the rest of work. So you would see these barbs and these sharp comments and slack, and it just got to be too much, because the whole day, 8 hours a day, was just like had this dark cloud hanging over us. So I left that job for that reason. And the reason I think that I actually quit that job because of my boss is because I went to my boss and I said, "Hey boss, like we've got a problem here with like this with morale, like with this everybody attacking each other." And she said, "I actually kind of like it, because when I'm in this meeting and I see all these department heads sort of duking it out, I'm getting the pros and the cons. I'm hearing both sides, and I feel like this is a way for me to kind of do an evaluation of like what's which way we should go, and I hear things that I wouldn't have heard otherwise if everybody was just being polite." So this was toxic by engineering, and it was just not sustainable. So this is another case of, yes, I did quit my my job because of my boss. Okay, so again, I'm Jefferson. I'm happy to be here and share my wisdom and knowledge and experience in this area. Most of it is not data driven. Most of it is not evidence based. I think that we generally don't put enough emphasis on gut and experience and wisdom. So most of this is going to be my experience in hiring, mentoring, coaching, managing, and sometimes firing 60 employees directly throughout my career. So take what you like and leave the rest. That's why you're taking your own notes. I'm going to be sharing a lot of specific tactical tips that are very like maybe practical. And if they apply to you, cool. And if they don't, maybe they'll inspire something that's adjacent. So, okay, let me see. I want to find the chat here and see, did y'all give me any names? We have a Danny, a Logan. I'm going to share mine with you, and Alex on the left. That's who's on the left here, the smiling creature that's waving. This is a scale. On the left side, we have that person that has so much institutional knowledge. They've been with us for years. They're reliable. They show up on time. They show up every day. They they bring in a good attitude. They've got great attention to detail. They're sharp. They're articulate. They're great communicators. They're just like that employee we couldn't live without. At the other end of the scale, Mr. Frowny Face there, this is the person that we think, should I fire this person? They're not quite so egregious that that we need to terminate them. Like, they haven't done anything really horrible, but they're the folks that we wouldn't lose too much sleep if they left on their own accord. Now, those are the two extremes, and everybody else falls somewhere in the middle, the gray area. I will call these folks the meets expectations folks, and I've represented them here with a dollar bill. Now, these are the people that are just fine. They're not superstars. They kind of show up and they kind of keep the business humming, but we don't want them to quit. We don't want most of our employees to quit. We want most of our employees to stay on board because it costs a fortune. It's a business disruption when somebody quits and leaves us, and it costs a lot of money. You probably know this already, but just to recap, when somebody puts in their notice, then immediately our wheels start spinning, right? We start thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to have to dust off this job description, which is, I wrote 2 or 3 years ago, which is completely no longer relevant. The job has kind of evolved and shifted and changed. Now we have AI, so I need to make it sound a little bit more polished, but I punch it into AI and it actually comes out AI slop. And it's just like, now it's like every other job description and it's not really super reflective of the actual job. I need to cut it down because now it's 3 pages. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. I'm going to post it. That costs money. I'm going to get 500 applicants. I'm going to have to sort through all of those. I'm going to have to create a short list for screening calls, then a short list for first round interviews, then a shorter list for second round interviews. I'm going to have to check the references, the onboarding. Hopefully they sign the offer letter, and then, or I have to start over and go back to the next candidate on my short list. I mean, it's so time consuming. It's so time consuming. Not only are you being taken away from growing the business and focusing on sales and the things that you need to help your business thrive, but it's costing you money. And then day one, they start and they're not really productive. They're just costing you money because they need to be trained, they need to get acclimated. It costs a fortune. So that's why we're here today. That's the point of this workshop. We don't want to lose employees. How do we keep folks here? I'm going to start with, if I can get to the next slide. I'm going to start, sorry, one second. I lost my screen. I'm going to start with a concept. Actually, let's start with the first step, which is day one. Just going in chronological order. Sorry, bear with me one second. On day one, you can set a tone for not only this new hire, but also for the rest of your team. Setting the right tone on day one will really serve you well. It will really help. It will really help with morale and showing your new hire exactly the kind of company that they have signed up to work for. When you hire somebody and they sign the offer letter, my recommendation is have on your checklist of to-do list. If you're a company that uses business cards and if you're an in-person office company, then immediately order their business cards right away. And the idea is that on day one, their business cards are ready and available. They're just waiting for them on their desk. Let's talk about their workstation for just a second. On their workstation, you know, okay, to be honest, the reason you're hiring somebody is because you're swamped. You need help, right? So sometimes we're hiring people and we don't really have time to make create a big effort to try to help them, to try to create some kind of special welcome party for them. But at the very minimum, just having a clean desk for them, um, a space that makes sense, that makes them feel like they're expected. We're having their business cards are on their desk. The filing cabinet underneath their desk is not full of weird old binders that people are like afraid to throw away. If you have a chalkboard or a bulletin board, can you make a sign? So the minimum is the email that everybody sends. Please join me in welcoming so and so that's going to start, but that's the minimum. That's not quite enough. It's really important to make them feel special. Now you might say, well, Jefferson, if I go to all this efforts to kind of create like a special welcome experience for day one, the employees that were hired before that person might feel a little jealous. What's up? How come they got this special treatment and I didn't? But as long as going forward, every new hire gets like a little celebration on day one and feels like they belong and feels really welcome. Your existing employees that didn't get that kind of a welcome, they might, they might notice, but that's actually a good thing because what they see you doing is they see you moving the needle in the right direction. They see you making an effort to try to create a better work environment for all of your employees. Now, I want to share a video with you that is just one of my all-time favorite videos. Let me see if I can pull this up. 1 second.
Well, remember, I'm off tomorrow. We're off tomorrow. Yeah, I'm off. What do you mean? You're off. Day off. Months ago. Oh gosh. Well, that seems a little far, right? That's the policy. Yeah, okay. For Paul. Yeah. Through the process. Yeah, put it on my calendar. It's on there. It's on my calendar. Hold on, let me look. No, it's not. Look at tomorrow. Oh, I'm looking at next week. Okay. Okay. No, I guess I see it here. A little tricky. I feel a little tricked. Did you find someone to cover? No, that's your job. Oh, that's my job now. Okay. Enjoy your day off.
Okay, I think that video is so hilarious because I can identify with it. It resonates with me. I have had that boss, for sure. I have had that boss. And, just a monster, right? Just a caricature. But if I'm being honest, have I been that boss? No, surely not. I've never been that boss because she's awful and I'm not awful. I'm a good person. I care about my employees. I want them to have work-life balance. But if us as bosses can't look in the mirror and see a little bit of that in us, then we're probably not doing it right. Because both things can be true at the same time. We can care about our employees and we can want them to have good work-life balance, but we can also have underlying this sort of like this struggle of like, oh no, you're kidding me. Like this is going to screw everything up. We're a chocolate factory and this is Valentine's Day. And I already told Charlie that he could take vacation. I don't know why I did that, but I told Charlie that he could take vacation. And then Sandra got called in sick. She's been sick for a week. And now you're telling me that you have scheduled a vacation. So what's coming into my mind is, oh, this is going to be overtime. I'm going to have to ask the rest of the team to work extra long hours. That's going to be a morale hit on them. I'm going to have to start paying overtime hours. I might have to jump on the line myself, which takes me away from running the company. We might be late on orders. I might be disappointing customers. We could lose an account. Like this is chaos. And all of these thoughts are racing through my mind as somebody is standing right in front of me telling me that they're off tomorrow or that they have COVID or that their grandmother just died, whatever it is. So what we have to do as managers is all of the chaos in our heads, we really have to set that aside for just a moment. We will figure all of that out. That's our job. It's our company or it's what we get paid to do. So yeah, I'm kind of asking you to fake it till you make it. What I tend to try to do is like go a little bit above and beyond what I think is normal. I try to err on the side of extra generosity because I think that what happens in real life is like, I think I'm being so generous. Like somebody comes to me and says, like, I think I might have to call in sick again tomorrow. I've been sick for 3 days, but I think I think today I'm going to be sick again. And maybe I can come in tomorrow. And I might say like, okay, well, it's Thursday and, we'll miss you today. Why don't you think about staying home tomorrow as well? Because then you'll have tomorrow to recover, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe we'll see you back here on Monday. And that's not what I want them to do. I want them to come back on Friday. But I'm sort of like, in my mind, I'm just being ridiculously generous. But really how it's coming across is that I'm just becoming like baseline human. Okay, so fake it till you make it is kind of a joke because you're not really faking it. You really do care, but we do have to try to present that we care and not make this chaos their problem. So moving ahead, I have a couple of tips that I'm going to share with you. Some of them have different weights than others. This is what they look like for me and my crew and my company sort of combined over my career. For your company, they will look a little bit different. You'll have different techniques to maintain morale with your crew. This is what it's like for me. And we've already covered the welcome. That's just a little sliver because it's just one day, but it is important. So we'll move on to space because space is a big one. And I'm going to try to move quickly because I want to cover as many of these practical tips as I can. So the space, like they're probably spending more waking hours in your work environment than they are at home. They're spending a lot of time in your space. It's really important. So to be able to convey a level of respect, the space has got to be clean, organized. Hopefully you want to convey that you are thinking thoughtfully about what the space and what their work environment is like. What I like to do is try to hire overnight cleaning crew if that's in the budget, so that when people come in, it's clean. I don't want my crew to have to do the dusting and the sweeping. Usually, like I've hired them to do specific jobs, and doesn't make good business sense for me to have them doing sweeping and dusting. Yes, if they make a mess at their station, they clean up that mess, but I don't want them cleaning the bathroom. If at all possible, if it's in the budget, you will take a big morale hit if we all have to clean the bathroom on rotation. It's a way to show a level of respect, and the bathroom has got to be clean. That's why I'm highlighting it here. We don't really like to talk about bathrooms, but your staff bathroom has got to be clean. I have a fire extinguisher here to symbolize safety. So we want to make sure that our staff knows that we care about our safety. Remember the fake it till you make it. We really do care about their safety, but we also want them to know that we care about their safety. So when I'm on the phone with the fire extinguisher refill guy, all of our fire extinguishers are overdue for being refilled. So I called to make an appointment, and the guy says to me, well, what are your business hours? When can I stop by? And what comes out is our production crew gets there as early as 7, but they usually leave around 3. Our admin team is usually there till 5. And he says, okay, great. Well, I'll come in after your production crew leaves at 3 to minimize disruption. And I'm thinking, no, actually, could you come before 3? Because I want everybody to see the fire extinguisher guy coming in and refilling all these fire extinguishers. You might think, well, this is performative. Like, this is fake. Like, you don't really, like Jefferson, you're trying to do this show. You want everybody to see the fire extinguisher guy. Yeah, I do want them to see. I don't think of it as performative, because performative is like, it's like fake. It's not real. It's like an actor performs lines. That's a character on stage. Like they're making up lines. They don't really mean what they're saying. I really do care about their safety, but I also want my crew to know that they're safety. So I don't want them to come in um, after they're gone. The other thing is, I've got this poor guy on this awful stool, hunched over, working all day like this, and this is just really bad ergonomics. So I'm talking to every one of my employees, and I'm talking to them about their ergonomics, whether it's getting them a good chair, or whether it's the right height of the desk. Is it do I need to get an adjustable height desk, because short person A works in the morning, and then they do a task for 4 hours, and then tall person B comes in and does the same task at the same station. And then lighting is pretty interesting. So I want to share with you um this is data-driven information. There was a study done that I think is really interesting. It's called the Hawthorne effect. There was a guy named Elton Mayo, and he was an Australian psychologist, an industrial researcher and lecturer, and he arrived in San Francisco in 1922. He was kind of famous for taking really complicated really complicated concepts, and then breaking them down into relatable, understandable ways, so that people could really use the information. And he is known actually as the father of HR, the father of human resources. He started in San Francisco. So I think that's super interesting. He went on to do the study, which is kind of famous, called the known as the Hawthorne effect. He went to a factory outside of Chicago, big telephone factory. This is the 40s. They were making a lot of telephone equipment, thousands of employees. And they were about to invest in new lighting, because they had this hypothesis that bright, better lighting was going to increase productivity. Kind of makes sense, but there was no data behind it. So they wanted to measure it. How bright do the lights have to be? What's the optimal, perfect amount of light? So to find out, they had to have a control group. So this guy, Elton, he said, okay, we're going to have one room. The light's not going to change. We're going to measure the productivity of these folks. And then in the other room, we're going to turn the lights up, and we're going to measure the productivity of these folks. So they started measuring secretly to get a baseline, what was the productivity, before they started the test. Then they went to every employee in both rooms, and they sat them down individually, one at a time. And they said, we're about to perform this test. You're going to see people with clipboards coming in here and counting and monitoring, making notes about your productivity. And because we want to study this lighting, in the control group, your lighting will not change. But we are curious to know, what do you think your lighting levels should be? Is it too dark now? If you had more lights, would it you think make you more productive? And they asked the same questions on the other side. So no surprises. At the end of the study, they looked at the group where the lights went up, and they were way more productive, as expected. The thing that was so interesting, and the reason why this study is famous now, is because the room where the lights did not go up, also more productive. They were equally more productive. Their productivity increased on both sides. It was not the lighting that improved productivity. So what was it? And if you do a cursory search, what you're going to find is that most people attribute the increased productivity to the fact that they were all being watched. They had people in there with clipboards, and they were watching them on both sides. Knowing that they're being watched, they worked harder. I like to reframe that a little bit, and to a more positive spin, and say, knowing that they were being that we were paying attention, they worked harder. But if you dig a little deeper, there was another part of the study that's often overlooked, and that is the impact of sitting everybody down one at a time and speaking to them directly and asking them open-ended questions. A lot of people believe that that's another reason why the productivity increased. So that's known as the Hawthorne effect. Maybe better lighting is going to help you, but maybe just asking people, listening to them, paying attention is going to have a big impact as well. Okay, moving on to communication. I like to, these are just a couple of quick hit recommendations. With my team, I like to try to help spare their inboxes. We all get too many emails. So I try to set a tone for everybody that I manage. Like, look, let's just copy each other on the emails we really need to copy each other on, instead of just being like email hoarders and everybody gets copied on everything. A lot of people have this idea that, well, if you just have access to every email in the world, then you'll have all of this information at your fingertips and you'll retain all of this information. But what it really does is just make your inbox unmanageable and overwhelming. I also like to encourage my team to uh, be concise, end emails with the question. And what I'm doing is I'm creating like a culture. I'm just like trying to engineer productivity and mutual respect among all employees. The second symbol there, the eyeball, that represents seeing and hearing. So what I like to do is I like to share with my employees what I'm hearing is that HR is considering moving to an unlimited PTO policy. Or what I'm seeing is in our industry, we're seeing, we're veering away from, a lot of companies are veering away from this and leaning more towards that. What I'm hearing from our CEO is that we might be, so instead of just waiting for like official releases, official presentations coming from marketing, like I like to try to loop people in as early as possible. I'm going to rephrase that because I don't like doing that. To me, it feels like a waste of time. Like I have other things to do and they'll get the information they need when it's time for them to get it. But to maintain good morale, what I need to do is I need to err on the side of over communicating, err on the side of being more transparent. It's just really appreciated. When everybody hears about a new campaign from marketing and the artwork is already done and the photography is already done and the slogan's already been selected and the products are there, it's they're like, well, how did this happen? We didn't even know anything about this. Well, you didn't, as their manager, I think, well, you didn't need to know until now, but that is just really not how I'm going to have a happy crew. The trophy icon there represents praise in public, preach in private, which hopefully is a philosophy that you're already using. This is a reminder of how important that is. I like to try to engineer situations where people will overhear me bragging about them, because that's just feels really good. I've even been known to engineer in a factory setting when we're trying to sort of like work on teamwork. Like I may or may not have placed a piece of garbage in the hallway and waited to see which employees walk by it and who's the first one to stop and pick it up when they think nobody's looking. And then to be able to brag about that as an example of being a team player, that is a thing that feels pretty good. The last icon there represents the the staff meeting. Yes, the monthly staff meeting, super critical. I highly recommend getting everybody on your team together at least once a month, as a way to like formally share information cross-functionally with everybody, everything that's going on, updates everybody on the sales, how are we tracking, and then also if there's any reviews, whether it's on Google Maps or Yelp or just feedback from customers directly, I always like to share that in those meetings as well. Okay, so on the sort of topic of communication, the one-on-one, I'm a fan of the one-on-one. Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, they've eliminated one-on-ones at Airbnb. They feel like it just becomes a therapy session. Everything should be either handled by email or in like a group team meeting where everybody's there that needs to be there, that's working together collaboratively, and the one-on-one just becomes therapy. So they've eliminated it, and I kind of get the point because I definitely have felt at times like a therapist in a one-on-one, but I actually am not ready to eliminate that because I think that my team appreciates having that space held for them. This is their space, by the way. This is their time. This is not my time. I don't own this. I let them own the agenda. I ask them to bring whatever topics they need to bring to me. I might add some things to the agenda, like what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. I might even give them updates on projects or even give them assignments in that meeting. Although some people believe that that is not the time to give them assignments. But I think the idea really is that this is not a meeting that people should dread. So I'm never going to give critical feedback in a one-on-one. If I need to coach somebody on an issue, I'm gonna do a one-off meeting, impromptu, a quick 15 minutes. Hey, do you have 15 minutes? Do you have 20 minutes? And try to handle that situation on the fly in between the one-on-ones. So that's a sacred time. I'm also never ever going to cancel a one-on-one. It just sends a message that your time isn't important. So what I might have to do is reschedule or shift, um, but I'm never going to cancel. So my phrasing is going to be, hey, I've got this meeting that just popped up. I'm stuck. Can we shift our one-on-one to 3 o'clock or tomorrow? Okay, teamwork. Um, teamwork doesn't happen by accident. I've had people tell me, Jefferson, my team, they don't function as a team. Like they don't use teamwork. I wish that they would be team players. Okay, well, this doesn't happen naturally. This happens as a part of your company culture, and it is engineered by you. It's your responsibility to create an environment with teamwork. And there may be times when it's actually it feels like less productive to have a team working on a project. So I'll give you an example. I've got one person that's really good at making widgets. And if I need a dozen widgets made, then I put this person on it and he cranks them out in an hour, a dozen widgets in an hour. But I want to create an atmosphere of teamwork. And so I ask um, Sandra to join person A and work on getting these widgets done together. So I might say to these two, hey, we need these widgets done before UPS comes today at 3. So I'm going to ask both of you to work together to make this happen. Now, I kind of know that if I just asked person A to do it by himself, he could probably do it in an hour. And if I asked Sandra to help him, it might take an hour and 15 minutes. They're going to go slower. They're going to gossip. They're going to talk. He's going to show her some tips and tricks on how to do it faster, how to do it right. They're going to talk about the movie they just saw last night or a date they went on. And so it's maybe not more efficient to put them together, but I'm thinking long game. I'm thinking big picture. I'm trying to create an environment where Sandra enjoys coming to work every day. She doesn't like working in a silo. She doesn't like showing up and working and being lonely all day long. She wants to work with other people, and they're having a great time now working together on this project. So I'm thinking big picture, even if it costs me a few minutes or a few extra dollars in the short term. The other thing that I like to do, which is sort of like this has to be done kind of carefully and thoughtfully, but not only am I working at bringing people together, assigning people to work on projects together, even sometimes at the cost of productivity and efficiency, is that I will sometimes carefully and thoughtfully um, instill a bit of competitiveness between folks. Now, not unlike my boss, where she would just like put us in a, it was like a cockfight, and we all just were like duking it out in a really ugly way. What I don't encourage people to go back and forth, but what I will do sometimes is that I will put on the board in a public place or in an email, a report, everybody's numbers so that everybody can see how they're tracking compared to other people. That sometimes does instill a sense of like, oh wow, well, how did she get more sales than me last week? And now I can see how I'm tracking, and I want to be the best. So that can be effective. I had a marker board once at one company that I worked for, and I was going to go on my honeymoon. I was going to be off, just out of pocket for a week. And before I left, I wrote a big list of to-dos on this board for the team, nobody in particular. Like, these are the tasks that we really needed to get done while I was gone for the week. And when I came back from that week, the team was just beaming with pride that they had knocked everything off of that list. They really enjoyed just walking up to the list, finding a task that they could do, that they knew how to do, that they had time to do, and crossing it off. And I thought, wow, this is really, like, why didn't I start this sooner? So I kept that board up for the rest of the time I was there, and all tasks went on this board with no particular names. And talk about instilling a sense of teamwork, like people just coming together and crossing these things off the list. It was really fantastic. Okay, so speaking of managing folks, I want to share with you this this book about this book. Like, if you're a manager, this is required reading. It's called Drive is the name of the book, and the author is Daniel Pink. I'm going to give you the sort of like too long didn't read version of it. And also, by the way, it's on Audible, so it's if you're not a reader, then just on your commute you can listen to it, or when you're in the shower or whatever, doing dishes, cooking. The principle of what drives professionals is there's like three main ingredients: autonomy, focusing on the end result rather than micromanaging people on how to get there, giving them some autonomy; mastery, when people are new and there's a lot of ambiguity and it's they're not good at the task, it's kind of like it's difficult, it's not that rewarding. But when you've mastered it and you're really good at it, like that guy that can crank out 12 widgets in an hour, that feels really rewarding. That's the kind of job I want to work at, is where I'm really good at what I do. And then finally, is the work meaningful? And there's, we're not really like rescuing puppies, in our work. Most of us aren't. So how do we make our work meaningful? And there's a bit more of a deep dive in the book, but I'll just share with you something that's important to note, is that not meaningful is redoing work or fixing other people's mistakes. That is the biggest morale hit you'll probably ever get, is when you take somebody else's work and you ask somebody else to go back and fix it. That does not feel like meaningful work. So I'll let you learn more about that on your own. And I'm gonna end with the last thing, and that is the celebration, the happy hour, the birthday, whatever it is that you do to celebrate your team. If you don't do anything, then I would encourage you to consider that. Your job as a manager is to know your team and to know every single individual and what makes them tick and what drives them and what makes them feel fulfilled. And for some people, it's stupid birthday parties. I hate birthday parties. I just do. Like, I try not to make sure nobody knows my birthday, because I find them so awkward. But it doesn't matter what I think. As the manager, what I think doesn't matter. What does my crew think? My crew loved birthday parties at this at one job that I worked for. They loved them. And so we did it. We did a birthday party for everybody. We got a cake, and sometimes we would get beers, and we would make little decorations. It was kind of nice. When do we have the birthday party? We have the birthday party the last hour of the day. I would encourage you not to make your staff feel like they are obligated to be there. And you might say, oh, it's optional, but nobody wants to be seen as not being a team player. So you might say it's optional, but no. Give them throw the party the last hour of the day so that they're on the clock. They're being paid for it. And then you might let the birthday party run over. If anybody wants to stay longer than the hour, then cool, they're not on the clock. What I like to do is clock everybody out. Like, let's say that the workday ends at 5. The birthday party starts at 4. I tell everybody at the birthday party, like, okay, I've already clocked everybody out at 5. You can go home a little early if you want to. You can leave now if you want to. You can leave at 5, you can leave at 6, but everybody's got an hour on the clock. Have a nice time. Same goes for happy hours. If you can have a happy hour on the clock that last hour of the day, cool. Makes people feel like they're not being required to be at work and unpaid. So those are my tactical, practical tips. I hope that something has resonated with you or inspired you or made you think, maybe I need to think a little bit more about how to keep my staff happy or my team happy. If anybody has any questions or anecdotes to share, we'll take those now.